Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Matt Storrs, and welcome to Mattsplaining. On today's episode, I have an expert on who I'm very excited to speak with about this topic. Expert, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're an expert in.
My name is Ryan Estrada, and I've accidentally become an expert in book banning by researching and writing a series of books about historical book banning and then those books being banned in the United States.
Oh, wow. I feel like I know quite a bit about book banning myself. I've been through a number of religious organizations and community action where we wanted to ban the other books, so to speak. They would want to ban the stuff that had a lot of sex, a lot of violence, and everything like that. We wanted to ban the boring books. Why do these kids have to read the classics? And then one of the things that I found absolutely fascinating in my time working against the traditional Burke banners and what have you, also books that were above a certain reading level. I'm sorry, but I love James Joyce now. But when I was younger, it's too complicated. Run-on sentences, stream of consciousness. No, thank you. That's too hard. That book should be banned. It wasn't required reading, and that's one of the things that people get confused about is, yes, we did have James Joyce in my elementary school library, but it wasn't required reading. There were so many books in there that, they're just, you got to search those books out if you actually want to do them. But in today's society, people focus on the book banning, and a lot of people are focused on, oh, at least we've gotten away from book burning. But the thing is, we have what's ultimately a digital burning, if you think about it like that, because it's not like you're taking a magnet to these hard drives or these servers that are holding these books, but you ultimately are, putting restricted access, like many, a place in America now where pornography is now banned in the States. You're missing out on a lot of the creative work that's going in on those websites. And the same sort of thing, that the next thing they're going to do is they're going to try and ban the fan fiction that's out there. And that's the thing, the unfortunate thing, because I am not a big fan of Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey or anything like that. I can't really say that I've watched the movies or read the books or anything like that. But the thing is, fan fiction is a great way for people to have a jumping off point to become writers and to gain skill as writers, to understand what it is to be a writer and how to build a story, build complex characters. And a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of Shakespeare's work actually were him writing fan fiction of various other writers, like Christopher Marlowe. Everybody thinks that Shakespeare stole from Christopher Marlowe. That's not what actually happened. Shakespeare was writing fan fiction of Christopher Marlowe plays, making them better, and then just changing some of the stuff around. And so that's where a lot of people get confused. If you ban these books and you eventually ban this fan fiction, what you're going to do is you're going to get a lot of potentially fascinating new stories to be hindered and a lot of people to not understand the complexities of these stories. And ultimately, then what you're going to do is you're going to get somebody that sees a Shakespearean story retold and all the best bits are sanitized out of it. And they're going to think, oh, this is so unique and so original. And it's, no, this is a derivative of many Shakespeare's works. And then this is also like without the complexities of these characters. And that's just unfortunate. You can't really have that. I will say this about book burning, not the most efficient way to get heat. Also, a lot of those people, they don't talk about this with the book burnings, but like that ink and the cover pages and stuff like that, yes, initially it smells sweet and it smells really good. I have burned some books. I burned some law school textbooks and study guides that I had. And I wish I had worn protective coverings when I did that because it does smell sweet and it does smell good. But then you realize, oh, this is chemically treated and it's burning a little bit out of control. Luckily, I'm the type of person that always has if I'm burning something, always has a fire extinguisher ready on hand so nothing got out of control. But that would just be one thing that I don't see a lot of fire extinguishers around these book burnings when I do see them. It doesn't seem like a very safe and like thought through book burning. That's very easy that a book burning turns into a town burning. You know what I'm saying? Because one of the books
Mhm.
goes off and gets into a barn, so to speak. I think that's how the San Francisco fire started actually was because they tried to burn a couple books, and not even to ban them, just because they were just misprinted or whatever. And then that's how the fire went. I don't think it was the cow that knocked into a lamp or whatever the official story is. Anyway, based on what you've heard so far, about how much of that would you say was accurate?
I'd say that there are a lot of different reasons people want to ban books, and there's some
Mhm.
of the ones that maybe books you don't want to look at. Those are very accurate to you, but it doesn't really reflect the book banning that's happening in society today and that
I
has
see.
happened around the world and the reasons for it.
Hmm.
Because I'll start with the one thing you said first is that in today's society, people are really going after pornography. And
Hmm.
that's something that a lot of people in the US think because there's people that go on the news and say, we're banning the porn that they have in schools.
Hmm.
And that is absolutely incorrect that they are lying to people to
I
tell them that
see.
because there was recently, I think in the 2020 to 2021 school year, 60% of all book bans were done by 11 people.
I see.
These people that are like giving lists of hundreds of books per month to get banned in their community. And they are going in front of boards and saying it's all pornography. But I actually, of those 11 people, I know about half of them personally because every time someo's banned my book, I've become their pen pal. And
Interesting.
I have found their all of their documents that they've submitted and learned what they really think. And for example, the guy who got my book banned first in Florida, I emailed him to say, "Hey, you said my book was pornographic. I've read it. I'm not sure where the porn is." And he's, "Oh, I haven't read your book." And I'm like, "Oh, how do you know?" He's, "Oh, I just heard about it." But and so I looked through his
Wow.
documents and I saw what else was called pornography, and one of them was a children's book about friendly cartoon bears. It's called Zen Shorts.
Okay.
And the official reason that he said he got it banned was that its story of radical empathy was incompatible with Christianity. Uh,
Huh.
he
That
was upset the
is
bears were too
shocking.
nice and that
That
a
it
burglar came in their house and he did not shoot the bear. Sorry, it was a raccoon. The bear did not shoot the raccoon. He was very upset about that. And so these are the things that, like, I've gone through his list of hundreds of books. All of his complaints are about someone in the background wore a pride pin, or I've seen things where a book has been banned because it was about Asian food, and that's too woke. There's lots of things, but the reason they say pornography is that throughout history, there's always a magic word that they use.
hmm.
Long ago in history, it was called degenerate art. But in the period that I was writing books about, which is 1980s in Korea, when my wife was in a banned book club, they were calling every book that they banned communist. They were just getting rid of communist books, which was, of course, a lie. They were also banning books about democracy because they didn't want people to learn what that meant and realize they didn't have it. In the same time, in the 1980s in America, they were banning books, calling them satanic, banning D&D because they thought it was satanic. But now this latest group of book banners, they started saying all the books were woke, and then
Hmm.
they realized that didn't get people mad enough, so they started calling them all pornographic.
I see. That is
And
so
what's
fascinating.
really going on is that they're banning books about the types of people they don't want to have a voice in society. That's why they're
Hmm.
banning a lot of books about Black history, about my book about Asian history. They're banning books about queer people and things like that. And another thing you brought up was Shakespeare, and Shakespeare is something that has been banned many times throughout history
Hmm.
because Shakespeare in his time, the reason he wrote books about history from his point of view was that he was not allowed to complain about the current government,
Right.
especially since the queen came to his plays. He couldn't outright call her name, so he wrote about history and said, "Man, wasn't this king a jerk because of these things he did? Oh, are you still doing that? Okay." And he actually had more than one version of each play that he would perform. There was a master of revels whose job was to go to his play and make sure he wasn't getting too political, or and so if that guy were there or if the queen were in attendance, he'd maybe make more subtle versions of the jokes. But then actually like groups of rebels would hire him to come put on performances that were like more like saucy and making fun of current government more directly. And throughout history, people have then gone on to use Shakespeare's plays to make fun of their government. In 1980, in Turkey, a group put on Midsummer Night's Dream, and they were all put in prison because the government thought that they were making fun of the current government by doing so. It's just wild that the problem is that these people that are doing this book banning, they don't care about the about like honesty and truth. They'll just go on TV and say, "You would not believe all the pornography they have in schools," and they have like very specific. They're like exactly two images that they'll share that are from books intended for like sex education for older teens, like
Hmm.
adults, and they'll be like, "Look what they're putting in elementary schools," and no, they're not putting those in elementary schools.
So you're saying
Um,
James Joyce isn't in elementary schools most of the time?
no,
Okay, I
it's
see.
not, and yeah, and it's funny the lengths of sometimes they're not even lying. They ban so many books they don't actually know what's going on. Because another thing, in addition to becoming pen pals, every time my book has been banned, I've flown. I live in South Korea,
Hmm.
and I have flown back to America, like 7,000 mile trip, to go speak at the place where my book was banned in defense of the librarians. And in one of them, I went there trying to figure out why, alongside my book, the children's book "Are You My Mother" was
Hmm.
banned. That book about a baby bird looking for its mommy, and I'm like,
Right.
what? Why would, how? It's a baby bird. And eventually I found out that they had confused it with Are You My Mother, a comic drama, which is an adult book about queer relationships. They just have a similar name. So I
Hmm.
went and spoke about that, and then one of the people on the board said they made a mistake about that, but they also told me that they have Let's Talk About It, the Teen's Guide to Sex and Sexuality in the children's section. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. And she's like, well, they said there's no way to confirm it. And I'm like, library's right there. We're in the parking lot. Let's go. So I walked in and asked, and I found out they had confused Let's Talk About It, the Teen's Guide to Sex and Sexuality with Let's Talk About It, Elmo's Guide to Conflict Resolution. So
Wow.
it's a Sesame Street book about bullying. So
Wow.
they're banning so many books that not only do they not read them, they don't read the entire title before
Wow.
they get a book banned.
Yeah,
Um,
that is nuts.
yeah, yeah. The more I learn about them, it's just, and the thing is, another thing that people are confused about is they think these are parents that are upset. And again, I met these people. A lot of them do not have children in the school district where they're doing this banning. A lot of them don't live in that community. They are the heads of organizations that are usually just one person that are given funded by like large political organizations that profit from private schools.
Hmm.
So they want to it's in their best interest to weaken the public school systems and make them look bad. And also they want to lower taxes by getting rid of libraries. So it's all about those things and making profit than it is anything about the books themselves or the children. And like when I went to speak in Kentucky, I found out that the only people that wanted the books banned had driven in from Ohio. They weren't even from the same state. And
Wow.
every single person, I was scared to talk, but then every single person at the city council meeting after it came up to me and said, actually, on the down low, like we agree with you, but we can't talk about that around here. And I'm like, y'all said the same thing. Why don't you communicate? And you'd realize these are liars from Ohio that
Right.
are like making you all think this. Yeah, it's a very politically oriented movement that lies about what they're banning and what they care about and why they're doing it. And that's the main corrections that I would have for you.
Absolutely. It does feel like I got close to nothing right. Thank you. I feel like I've now learned quite a bit, and I'm hoping that I can help stop this sort of thing from happening or continuing to happen. If Ryan, if people wanted to learn more about you or more about this topic and how they could get involved, hopefully to stop it from happening, where would you recommend that they go?
There's lots of different organizations based on where you live that are fighting for it, but there's a group called Pen America that puts out an annual report of the state of book banning that has a lot of great information. Whatever community you're in, there's like Florida Freedom to Read Project, Texas Freedom to Read Project. There's always groups that are posting about what's going on in your community. Just search for your state or your area and see what's going on. And the most important thing that anyone can do is to go to their local library meeting, their local city council meeting, because even if you think that there's no one complaining about it, there is someone in your community doing it, and that's probably all that these people hear. So just one person going up and saying, "Hey, I think libraries are good, and you should let them have books," will make a huge difference. If you want to learn about the history of it, from my books, I did a book called Banned Book Club. That's my wife's true story of being hunted down by the cops for smuggling banned books in Korea under a dictator, and our follow-up No Rules Tonight. I also did a book called Occulted that is about my friend who was banned from reading books by a UFO death cult and read
Wow.
them anyway, and that's how she escaped. You can learn all about my books at ryanestrada.com and about other banned books. There is unfortunately so much out there about it because there are so many books being banned right now.
I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope other people did too. And I hope this inspires people to go out and try and stop this from happening.
Hopefully they're inspired to help out.
Absolutely. My name is Matt Storrs, and this has been Mattsplaining.